I put this conversation up last night, sort of a little bit lighthearted, right? Because Karen Plunket put up a tweet yesterday, something tongue-in-cheek, being a bit silly. I don't know if I should celebrate being unblocked by David Farrier. And the reason we put it up to be a bit tongue-in-cheek is I responded to him by saying probably the same celebration I had when you unblocked me. Meh. And that was sort of all I put up there, because Plunket had been talking about David Farrier on Twitter. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So today, wake up this morning and David Farrier has responded. There's a webworm that's come out. But let's first of all have a look what was actually said. So Sean Plunket put a tweet out yesterday that said this. Hey, David Farrier. Oh, sorry. I suppose that's supposed to be has, because, so let's say, has David Farrier been to any good court-ordered non-violence courses lately?
Where the hell has that come from?
Yeah, well, I know where that's come from. I can tell you, right?
What?
Hayden Donnell, who I believe is Media Watch on RNZ. I believe that's Hayden Donnell. I could be wrong, but I think Hayden Donnell and Colin Peacock do it. Responded to Sean Plunket saying, if he hasn't, then this would be a very risky tweet. Because, of course, if it's not true, that would be defamatory. Because even though it's got a question mark on it, and as Mr. Plunket and some people try to do, they think if I'm just asking a question, then I'm covered by, I'm not stating anything, I'm asking a question. It's a pretty stupid way to think of the law, in my opinion. And you can see there's a fair bit of traction there. I mean, it's not hundreds of thousands, but, there's a fair bit of traction there. Hayden Donnell then went on to talk about this new film released by David Farrier, which I haven't seen yet. I don't think any of us probably have. And Hayden Donnell said, I just looked up David Farrier's new film, Mr. Organ. And it's about an obsessive man with a history of taking people in with what proves to be false information. So this is talking to Sean Plunket. Hope you haven't been fooled by anyone like that. So let's have a look, and this will get us demonetized, but we can get around that by you going to Patreon. Let's have a look at some of the trailer of this new film called Mr. Organ. In fact, before we do that, let me just read you a bit of a synopsis. This is from NZ On Screen. In 2013, a colleague of journalist David Farrier entered the office in tears with a nasty run-in with a car towing company working for Ponsonby store Bashford Antiques. In 2016, a TV3 expose about the shop's aggressive action spurred Farrier to dig deeper. All roads led to Michael Organ, a man with criminal convictions, a penchant for fake identities, and a line in psychological torment. In this trailer, Farrier sinks deeper into Organ's disturbing backstory and plays cat and mouse with the man himself. Mr. Organ is Farrier's second feature documentary following 2016's acclaimed Tickled and Netflix's series Dark Tourist. So that's the lead into this story. Let's have a bit of a look at the trailer, shall we?
There's a gap in my blinds, and I keep thinking when I open my eyes, I'll see him staring back at me through the gap.
Oh, hi, it's David Farrier speaking. I'm a journalist based in Auckland. How are you doing?
Not interested. Thank you. Bye.
A full-scale war was breaking out on the streets of an Auckland suburb.
A wheel clamper who was then demanding they pay to get their vehicles back. You are a crook.
I'm literally trying to give you $400 cash.
Uncontrolled, exorbitant, intimidating behaviour.
You're an absolute crook. You are a liar.
I know there must be more to this car park terrorist, and I want to find out what.
People won't talk because they're frightened. He's a very dangerous man.
That's his trademark. Soften them up, poison them off, then shoot them down in flames.
That's not a good thing to be probing into with our family. It's caused a lot of pain.
This man was dangerous.
How did you know that he had been to my house?
He talked all about you and said that he's onto you.
They give me a key to your home.
Wow. That seems quite weird. I mean, I'd prefer you didn't have a key to my house.
Holy shit.
This is fucking crazy. He knows I'm making a film about him, and I think he wants to be a part of it.
He followed me down to my bedroom and he punched me in the head 6 times.
Michael Organ is a black hole.
You're going to get taken along for the ride.
And I've fallen in.
Well, he is a genius.
I'm literally trapped with him.
The problem with Michael is once he gets on to you, he won't let go.
You probably would have been quite an interesting person to know if you were such a cunt.
Look at that face, Chewy. Now, look, I'll just.
That looks amazing. Are you kidding?
I've been in touch with David as well. We've had a few, not about this yet, but we've had some conversations in the past about getting him on my other podcast. We'll see if we can get him on to have a bit of a chat about it. But okay, so that's the first time you've seen Mr. Organ, the pro.
I've seen this tweets about it. I hadn't watched the trailer. I actually remember the original. I think it was Nightline expose onto Bashwood Antiques and their rabid clamping. And basically, if you parked outside down an alleyway next to their shop for more than 5 minutes, you'd find a boot on your car, and you'd have to pay like $500-600 to have it unlocked. So to have this spiral out now, like 15 years later, into that trailer literally gave me goosebumps. That looks amazing.
How much did you like the?
Oh no, it was good.
Perfect game.
It was good. But yeah, Farrier is a legend. Like if you have to like pick your fighter, Plunket or Farrier, no contest. No contest. Well, Dark Tourist was amazing as well. So
yeah, still on Netflix if you want to see it. Yeah, it is very good. Now, so let's get back to this conversation. So this is what's swirling around at the moment, and I can't remember whether I read it, whether I've got it highlighted. I'll have a look. But obviously, the intimation is that Mr. Organ has got to Sean Plunket and fed him some information that Plunket is now putting out there, like every good journalist does, like it's gospel. Every good journalist does, like it's gospel. Yeah. Plunket didn't go so well on the old Twitterverse when he started doing this, and I'll just give you one. I'll give you one example. He put up this tweet about David Farrier court-ordered non-violence courses lately. Someone Warwick 512 responded. Avi Yemeni, who was on his show a couple of mornings ago, was convicted of insulting his ex-wife and is a welcome guest on your show. What's your standard here, Sean? So I was like, yeah, well, yeah. It's pretty obvious. So anyway, we're talking about this morning. Wake up this morning, and I'm greeted by this tweet. As Mr. Organ approaches, this is from David Farrier, in case you're listening to the audio podcast. As Mr. Organ approaches its November 10th New Zealand release date, an old man, backed by millions of dollars from rich lister Wayne Wright, has decided to defame me. Feel free to retweet this. I'd prefer the truth was circulated. And we get into the webworm story. So the webworm by David Farrier, which is webworm.co, if you want to go check it out for yourself and sign up, reads Sean Plunket defames me. Talks a little bit about Sean Plunket and goes into a few conversations. And I'll read a couple of bits out from it. It's Michael Organ, isn't it? I'm even short of the guy's name. Anyway, Mr. Organ. Mr. Organ? Michael Organ? I think it's Michael. Anyway, Organ appears to have gotten into the ear of New Zealand broadcaster Sean Plunket. If you are not familiar with the New Zealand media landscape, it's small and it can be feral. Sean occupies a strange, angry place there. And then he's got a link to what he's written about before. Platforming conspiracy theorists and anti-trans rhetoric. His website / online radio station is backed by millions of dollars, care of rich lister Wayne Wright. And that's a link to the spin-off article. Last night, the man with millions behind him sent out this incorrect tweet about me, which is that one about had been on any court-ordered non-violence. You can read the whole article yourself, but I'm just giving you a couple of snippets of it. To be clear, says David Farrier, this is a defamatory statement. Him framing it as a question, the I'm just asking questions technique, is his attempt not to be defamatory, but it is. I have not been ordered by any court to go to any violence courses lately or ever, mainly because I've never carried out any violence. Mr. Plunket's insinuation is that I am violent, that I have carried out violence, but his followers listen, and now a bunch of people in New Zealand believe him. And then there's a screenshot, for again, if you're listening on the audio podcast, that says down the bottom about, you can read those for yourself. Do you want to read those out? I'm just going to do one other thing. You want to read those out, Chewy, while I'm doing this?
Yep. Hang on. I just need to make the screen bigger. No, big screen, mate.
Or someone just says, oh, yes, please. Someone goes, ugh, not a woke star. And then, wait, what? A nasty guy, that Farrier. More information on this would be good. So that's what's being said by some people in the tweets.
At one point, I'd say here, this is exactly how that pernicious rumor about Clark Gayford started as well, in a very similar thing. Just these sort of veiled hints that maybe he's up for drugs charges, and people just went hook, line, and sinker on that shit. People will believe this.
Yep, for sure. Farrier goes on, I know for a fact that this, quote, court-ordered violence course, end quote, is the latest piece of disinformation being propagated by one Mr. Organ, the subject of my documentary. It will make sense when you see the film. And Organ appears to have found an ally in the multi-million-dollar backed Sean Plunket. And there's the tweet from Hayden Donnell. And then Sean Plunket also talks about the trailer being removed from YouTube. Well, it's not, because we've just played it. So that's something else that's very strange about the whole thing.
You could literally go, well, I'm going to say something. Better check that it's true by going to a different tab and typing it in. But maybe his assistant had gone home for the evening.
So David talks about a few more bits and pieces, brings up some of the replies that have been coming in, says replies will come in, Trump avatars on display, and the homophobia begins. Says the homosexual tickle boy, Farrier has blocked me, says someone from Mega. And not that this wraps up the whole piece, you can read it for yourself, but one last piece says, as Sean and others like him go around proclaiming, quote, I'm just asking questions, end quote, I often wonder what they think of their fans. And this is something we've talked about before, Chewy. When they look to see that their fans are saying, what their fans are saying, is there a part of them that goes, oh, people who seem to love my work also love saying a lot. I wonder if that's a reflection of me in any way. And this, on some level, is exactly what we've talked about before when we've talked about the alt-right conspiracy theorist QAnoners that flood to Plunket's content. Don't you have to say therefore? And I think, what have we said in the past? If we were making a podcast or something about how to repair a car, you're probably going to get lots of people coming along wanting to learn how to repair their cars. If you've got a whole bunch of people listening who are alt-right QAnon conspiracy theorists, what does that say about your content? And I guess in a much more professional and eloquent way, David Farrier is sort of echoing some of those same comments around things like homophobia and various questions. Anyway, that's kind of the summation of all the information. Chewy, thoughts, sir?
Oh well, we come back to this thing that we've spoken to about Plunket. Does he believe it, or is it just a bit?
Would you like the answer to that, or do you know the answer, or should if you know the answer, should we offer the answer to the people?
I mean, both of them are contemptible, but for different reasons. Okay. Like, if he believes it, he's just a real, authentic piece of shit. If he doesn't, like, that's even more. Does it make it worse? I think it does.
So I was in Auckland.
It's that, and it lacks integrity as well.
I was in Auckland 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, catching a cold, which was lovely. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Auckland, by the way, you bastards. Bad too. Still kind of with me a little bit. And I had some meetings in the radio industry, and I've kind of said to you guys, oh, doing some work in the radio soon, but more about that later. But I spoke with some people who were very high management when Plunket was working for ZB and for Radio Live, because I had several meetings. And all of them, without question, when they talked about him, and it came up in a couple of meetings, were like, he doesn't believe anything he's saying, because they know him personally. It's all horseshit. It's a grift. It's fake. It's all horseshit. Now, people who know him are saying it's horseshit. We're kind of asking the question, if it is horseshit, what? But when you get people like Billy Takaha, who is sort of the target a lot of his content, coming out saying, when will people realize that the platform and Plunket are a sham? It's like you go down to the bottom of the barrel, and then you go under the barrel. And I guess it's a bit me saying this, because he's fooling people. They're the people who are now being attracted to the platform. A couple of people, and obviously I'm not going to mention names or stations or anything, that I was talking to in Auckland, have said very clearly, in their opinion, no one will ever advertise on the platform. They said when the rich listers' money runs out, they'll either have to get refunded by rich listers or they'll disappear, because who wants to put their advert on the side of a dumpster fire? You know, what happens there is, once the fire will engulf the advert. So it won't succeed. It's looking very successful at the moment, and it's in its way it looks, and that's because it's got $3 million behind it. If we had $3 million behind us as well, we would look fucking amazing. I mean, we look pretty good as it is, Chewy?
Well,
but,
yes.
Especially your background today, your pink and red background.
Well,
you should be doing this from your kitchen. If you were doing this from your kitchen, it would look amazing. Anyway, but it's not. Yeah, it's not going to work. It will hang around for a few years because that's what a bank balance of $3 million will do, enable you to hang around for a few years. But as we said 6 months ago, 5 months ago, his dilemma is going to be, does he move to, this is Plunket, does he move to where his authentic positions are, right, and lose who the audience he's already grifted? Or does he stay in the area where he doesn't believe the things he's saying to attract an audience to get money, and then just, be Alex Jones in New Zealand? But in fact, I saw someone call him whale oil light the other day. I thought that was quite a good insult. And just, but Cameron believes his stuff. So let's sort of demarcation there. But yeah, so that's the truth. He doesn't believe half the stuff. I heard something the other day, because he does pop up on my feed still because I watch some of his things. He's now not buying into climate change. He's now actively climate change tonight. In fact, on his Twitter feed at the moment, it says this: remember, 97% of greenhouse gas emissions are not man-made. So he's actually going down the path of climate denial and stuff as well. Now, whether he believes that or not, I don't know. But the overarching theme is he's grifting. He doesn't believe it. It is my honest hell belief that he's grifting. But it's the worst of the worst.
Just as far as Billy Takaha and Sean Plunket, one thing sprung to mind: let them fight. I'm okay with it. When two of the worst people are having a go at each other, you just let them keep doing it.
People in the industry know you're full of shit, and the people you're trying to target know you're full of shit. Then the only people that are left over are, unfortunately, probably the most vulnerable and the ones who are most deluded. And I'm actually trying to be gentle saying that. I don't want to throw that out as a I'm not trying to weaponize that term, but I'm like people who are really, really down the path of being sucked in by some of this stuff.